Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We will get started in just a moment. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our webinar today, Insightful Enterprise Business Intelligence with Qlik. This is Megan Boscheman. I am the Director of Business Intelligence and Analytics for InOutsource. I have on the line with me Kenny Gelhaus from Qlik and Shwam Choware from Qlik as well. Just to give you a little background in terms of what you've gotten yourself into today, we are going to start off with just a brief introduction on InOutsource for those of you who are not familiar with us, although I do see some current and prior clients on the line. Thank you again. And then I am actually going to pass it over to Kenny and Shwam to give you some background on Qlik. And then for the most part, what we'll do today is we'll spend our time in the solution. We'll look at a legal specific demo, and we'll actually spend some time building an application from scratch in Qlik. For those of you who are not familiar with InOutsource or maybe have not worked with us lately, we were launched in 2002. Our focus has always been on the legal industry, working with law firms, some corporate law. We were formed at our inception about 15 years ago to provide records management consulting. At the time, really to work with law firms to address the policies, procedures associated with managing client files. Now, at this time, many of these records were paper, but the industry evolved and the way that law firms began to manage their information changed. Obviously, electronic files, technology came into play. Even since our inception, however, our approach to records and information management, even all early on, has always been very holistic. We've pushed that the information governance process begins with new business intake. Because of this, we have always consulted and worked with law firms to define and design the new business intake process as well. Early on, we did not implement or resell technology. We spent a lot of time really promoting vendor neutrality. We got involved early on with technology implementations, working with vendors and implementers as advocates for our clients. Our goal has always been to see that the structure of the technology, whether it be for new business intake, records management, maybe a document management system, we want to see technology mimic the policies, procedures, and best practices that a law firm has worked so hard to put in place. Over time, what we found is this became more and more of a challenge for us. Unfortunately, we would run into situations where a firm would select maybe a technology provider or a vendor to implement their technology, and the vendor maybe would not be so familiar with the best practices in a law firm. And we would see that the technology that was put in place wouldn't support these policies and best practices that we had worked with the law firm so hard to develop. So at that time, we decided that the only way we could truly benefit our clients was to help them all the way through the life cycle of their technology implementation. For that reason, about 4 years ago, we began to implement Intap Open. And about 2 years ago, we began to implement and resell FileTrail. So if you're not familiar with the work we do with these technologies, I do encourage you to reach out and learn more. Check out our website. About a year ago, however, we did officially launch or announce the launch of our BI and analytics practice. This offering, from our perspective, was just a very natural fit with us. We've worked with our clients for 15 years, advising them on how to best manage their information assets. And now our goal is really to work with these same clients to leverage these assets and utilize them to achieve greater insight and drive their business forward. I have a master's degree in business intelligence and analytics. This is a huge point of passion for me. When we set out to select providers to work with, we have two partners that we work with, Qlik and Sisense in the BI space. We actually evaluated, I think, about 18 technologies. And when I say we evaluated these technologies, we really went very far in depth with that evaluation process. We did our research. We looked into how they fit with the market. We sat for demos. We downloaded the solutions. We tried to build out applications. We put data in, really looked for the strengths and weaknesses of the different products, and really thought about how those products would work to support the legal industry. We looked for solutions that would provide our clients with flexibility and enable them to create practical solutions to suit their unique needs, not just in one department, but across the enterprise. I think you'll see today that Qlik is, without a doubt, a very flexible solution with a very solid reputation. At this point, I am going to hand it over to Kenny Gelhaus, and he's going to give you some background on Qlik as an organization and then bring you right into the platform.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Megan. Just share my screen right now. If you don't mind just letting me know if we're up and running on my end.
You are all set, Kenny.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you everyone again for hopping on this afternoon's webinar. Looking forward to showing you guys a little bit more around Qlik. Before we really dive into it, I just want to give you guys a little bit of familiarity with Qlik as a visual analytics platform and kind of where we came from. So we were actually founded in Sweden in 1993. So we've been around for almost about 25 years or so now, specifically within the business intelligence, data discovery, and visual analytics space. And across the globe, we have about 41,000 plus customers, a very strong ecosystem when it comes to a partner network, which InOutsource is one of our partners that does quite a bit of work within, as we know, the legal space. But also, as a global organization, we have customers in 100 different countries. So for some of the larger firms that maybe span outside of the U.S., right, we have that global reach and a tremendous partner network and customer network that expands outside of just the U.S. Right now, we're actually currently headquartered in Radnor, Pennsylvania. So those of you familiar at all with the Philadelphia area, it's about a half an hour outside in the suburbs, and we've been there for about 5 years or so. As an organization, we have about 2,600 employees as well. So that's just a little bit of background on Qlik. So really how Qlik came to market 25 years or so ago, at its real foundation is the ability to connect to disparate data sources throughout your organization, to connect to a variety of different systems that you guys may have, and then with leveraging the Qlik platform, not only visualize that information for deeper analysis, but you're also within the platform able to handle that data integration and that ETL type of capability directly within the technology. So it's very strong from that standpoint. From a performance standpoint, it's very strong as well, as it's an in-memory technology. But we won't dive into all of that right now. That would be terrific for a follow-up call. But what I wanted to show you quickly on this slide is data visualization is certainly a hot topic within the industry right now. And what we've really realized is that law firms are starting to look into more data visualization and looking into visual analytics. But really there's so much more to just visualizing your data. There's a lot that goes into it, as you see here on the back end, from being able to handle your data, being able to prep it, and being able to really have it in a format that's going to be high performance for the attorneys. Because at the end of the day, if the last thing that you need is to deliver information out into a dashboard or application, and then ultimately have that information, maybe have the hourglass or a bubble spinning, that type of thing, it'll certainly turn off individuals who you're trying to deliver that data to. So that's a very important piece in making sure that your data is sound and solid and governed on the back end before you even take that next step into visualization. And then once you do and you start to become more advanced with how you're delivering data into the firm, you start to look into different areas and how you can approach that delivery of data. So you can have a very guided approach where you deliver out dashboards and applications to your business users. You can still continue within something like Qlik, and our platform is push out static reporting as well as need be, and perhaps Microsoft Office and PDF formats. But also as well is that we live in a very mobile world, and Qlik, as we'll show you, is very responsive and device agnostic, actually. So it allows you to really build once, develop once, and consume anywhere on any type of device that you'd like. And then finally as well, and then this is something that we've really seen quite a bit within the industry, is embedding analytics, and it's very easy to do so with QlikSense, but specifically embedding it into SharePoint portals or maybe other web applications that you have internally to drive traffic for the attorneys and others in the firm to kind of have that one-stop shop for, whether it's analytics and you're driving traffic to SharePoint or, a host of other things. You want to make sure that you drive adoption through that. So Qlik kind of handles this whole spectrum here, as you see, all in one platform, which is excellent. And really the flexibility of Qlik allows you, because of that ability, to get data from different sources wherever you want in the firm, whether it's adherent data, elite data, relativity data, INTAP data, you name it, Qlik can pull that in, and then you can do the analytics off of that. So as you see here, I'll just touch on these. I do want to get into to the technology and show you guys a little bit more. I think it'll all make quite a bit of sense. But this idea of, by pulling in data from multiple sources, you're going to get a complete picture of your data, that whole story of your data, a very holistic view of the firm, and that's very important, right? We've seen that some organizations can be very siloed in how they report on data. With Qlik, you're able to get that complete view so that there's no data missing and you have that single version of the truth. As I showed on the last slide as well, is that really Qlik and QlikSense is a platform for visual analytics, not just that data visualization tool. You cover that certainly, but there's much more in terms of the variety of use cases that you can work off of within the platform, and also as well that data integration piece, which is very important as well. And then finally, which is very important and sometimes can be overlooked, right? With certain business users though, is you definitely want to deliver that high performance and that speed so that attorneys on the fly can maybe do some quick hit analysis on total profitability. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that that data is governed and secure so that the right people are seeing the right data at the right time. So really Qlik is built with that first and foremost on its platform. It's very strong from that standpoint. And again, that is something that in the future, if need be, and you guys would like to learn more about that, we'd be happy to show you that. Here's just a couple of quick use cases, right, where we're helping firms right now from a data perspective. And again, that flexibility that Qlik offers from a data standpoint allows you to go even more in depth, right? So what we see is that there may be one use case in mind where perhaps a firm wants to look deeper into to their adherent data and dive into looking into WIP and looking into fee generation and billing utilization that we're going to show a little bit more in the demo, but they start there and then realize that they can start pulling in other data sources. Maybe there's an HRIS use case that comes up as well. So there's much to do within Qlik. There's a lot of different ways that you can leverage your data within the platform, and a whole host of use cases that you can knock out within the firm, leveraging Qlik for BI and visual analytics. So now I will jump into QlikSense. So let me just refresh this real quick. So it looks like it, I'll have to refresh this, and bear with me, right? We're in a live demo here, so of course, a few things that I want to just poke away here. So let me just log into our Qlik portal here. well, of course, our Qlik, I don't know if it's my connection here or not, but I'm going to hop in here anyway and just show you guys quickly, and I apologize, bear with me. I'll just pull this into here, and we'll be on our way. Excellent. So this is the application that I was going to show you guys for today's demonstration. Now, just as a quick caveat, what we're going to be showing here is financial systems data for a firm. But again, as I mentioned, there are a variety of different ways that we can work off of different data sources that you have to kind of cover any particular use case that you'd like. So here is, really how we like to help in building out dashboards, or what we see as a very beneficial way to begin analytics, is to open up with really a dashboard page. And I mentioned previously that a key piece of the Qlik Sense platform is our ability to embed into SharePoint or other web portals that you have. So this is something here where this actual sheet that has been built out could actually be embedded into an attorney's dashboard based strictly off of their data and their information, so they can have a quick high-level look at their KPIs, right? That's sometimes how we deliver this particular data is, let's look at it at a high level, right? Let's look at their fees billed and units billed, and then maybe what they're writing off and writing down within the organization. But now maybe let's dive into a little bit more, right? So here I'm opening up just a sheet around fee generation. So this was built out specifically to look deeper into the firm's attorneys, as well as kind of linking that up with client data around fee generation. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of point out here is the power of Qlik, and again, as I mentioned, that connection to multiple sources and associating data across different sources, is that everything is highly interactive with Qlik. So anytime I make a selection, and let's say I want to look at maybe year 2016 data for last year, I make that selection, and as you can see, everything updates here on the fly. So again, high performance, right? We're working off of multiple data sources. This particular application, I believe has 4 or 5 different data sources within the organization. But again, everything updates on the fly, highly interactive. Everything is wired together right out of the box with Qlik when you make those associations across the sources. So now let's say I want to do a little bit more analysis here, and perhaps I want to just drag down here and maybe grab the top 5 attorneys based off of fee generation for 2016, complete my selection there. And now this is, a key component to point out within Qlik, is that Qlik allows you to really kind of work naturally within your analytics. So now I'm looking at top 5 attorneys, and then maybe I want to look at maybe our top, the top 2 clients off of these attorneys, right? So here we go again, and we're starting to drill down and get more granular with our data. And then maybe here, I'm going to look at, the client who has generated, the most fees for us here, right? So I make that selection. Now, I just want to point out as we go here is that all my selections are being kept track of up here. Right, I selected 5 out of 577 attorneys in my firm. And what I see here is in green the selections that I've made. Right, but what's great about Qlik too is, this ability to track your selections, across your sheets, as I'll show you, but also the ability as well to kind of pivot on demand, if you will, and change up the questions that you want to ask. So right now, in particular, we're looking at year 2016. Now we've drilled down into 2 particular attorneys, and they're in this client name, right? So I can even click on this client here and say, okay, I want to look maybe into, a little bit more information on these guys. But now what if I want to pivot and leverage just the attorney and client name? All I have to do is unselect here in 2016, and now everything is updating through the entire time that I've actually been working with this particular client. And if I'd like, I can pull out the attorneys as well. And now I'm strictly looking at this particular client. Now I can see here, and I just want to point this out while we're on it, is everything in white that you see here, all of these selections, these are actual dates, or these are data points within the application that are associated with my selection up here of client name, Gerlach, Schmidt, and another name in there, and Qlik. But what you see here in gray is not associated with this particular client, right? So what this tells me is that, we didn't generate any fees from Gerlach, Schmidt, and Qlik in 2010 and 2011. Now, this is unlike any BI or analytics platform out there. In any BI analytics platform outside of Qlik, you're going to be able to see this information here in white. But when you do drill down, they will remove that data in 2010 and 2011. But with Qlik, it's going to keep all your data in there. Because to you, this could open up a data quality issue because perhaps you know that in 2011 that this particular client did have some fees generated, right? So it allows you to do that, but it also allows you to maybe, hey, now I want to take a look at 2010 and 2011 data. So now, once again, I pivoted off, and now I'm looking at an entirely different question and looking for a different answer to that question right on the fly without having to go back to IT, without having to run a new report, all directly in the dashboard. So pretty cool stuff from an interactivity standpoint. Now, just a quick highlight here. Let's say I wanted to dive into this information a little bit more. I see an outlier here with Carol Henderson. Looks like she's in between the acceptable and optimal threshold. So, I could always grab maybe this lasso here, right, and make a selection here as I see fit, and then maybe over here, I want to just drag just under the optimal range and grab any attorneys in there. So now, again, I'm continuing to drill down. Now, as I mentioned, as you move across different sheets, what you'll see is our selections, again, are being maintained up here, and everything on the next sheet is corresponding back to this particular selection that I've made. So what I'll do is I'll actually clear this out because I want to show you actually one of my favorite pieces and what we tend to see with any of our customers, whether it's in law firms or in any other industries, is what's our global search. And this is out of the box with Qlik, a Google-like search capability, and it allows really for any end user, the barrier to entry to start using analytics is dropping basically to the ground floor. So with global search, I can simply perhaps, let's say, I'm interested in looking for a specific attorney right out of the gate. I know whose data I want to see. I want to see how they're doing from a fee generation standpoint and a utilization standpoint, perhaps. So I'm going to look for Elizabeth Mills here. And what you'll see as I type out Elizabeth Mills in this search string is a couple of items to point out. One, any visualization in my application is going to show up here based on my search selection for Elizabeth Mills pertaining to these visualizations. So I can kind of scroll through here and pick and choose. But also as well as I can actually make selections on the data points and data sets within my application as well. So I'm going to select billing attorney here for Elizabeth Mills. And again, as we see, what we've seen with our sheets thus far is that now everything is updated just for Elizabeth Mills and her view. So now, again, I can kind of start to do the same type of thing. So, again, moving throughout the application here. Now, again, everything is being kept track of up top, which is excellent for us in terms of keeping track of our analysis. So now we're looking at just Elizabeth Mills. So I may be stepping into a meeting with Elizabeth, perhaps later in the week or Monday mornings. Maybe I just want to take a couple of quick snapshots here. Make a little annotation here for Elizabeth, and maybe we'll look at this one as well. Click and take a snapshot. Do Mills 2. So I'll just take a couple of quick snapshots as we go because I want to build out a story and a presentation layer, and we'll get to that shortly here. So as we start to tee that up, I did want to show you guys a little bit more around, as I mentioned in the initial kind of introduction, is how Qlik is very, very mobile friendly. So what I'll do here, and pardon the desktop background here, if anyone's a Penn State grad, you'll probably like the background. But as you see here, as I resize my screen to, let's say, an iPad format, everything updates automatically for me. I didn't have to build out a separate mobile application for this. I just developed out this application, And then right out of the chute, we're able to put this on any particular device we want because Qlik is built on top of HTML5. Now let's say I want to size this down perhaps to something like an iPhone or an Android and then scroll. So you can kind of picture yourself, using your fingers if you were on your smartphone, scrolling up and down. I can, make any particular selections that I want here as well. I'm just going to X out of that and back out here. But again, very, very similar, very mobile friendly for us. Global search, as you see up here in the top, still comes through, so I can do that as well on the fly if I'd like to. And then once again, hop from sheet to sheet. So I just wanted to kind of pivot here after showing you guys a little bit more about the mobile capabilities of Qlik to also go into this idea of self-service visualization. So it's a particular use case that we see quite a bit with our customers in that they want to allow access for more ad hoc reporting or changing of data or how data is being delivered. Now, for the most part, you're most likely not going to push this out and give this opportunity for people or this particular ability to certain people, but it's very important to have this in our back pocket, right? Just in case we want to allow for quick changes on the fly for how we're presenting data, perhaps to different attorneys or others within the firm. So it's very easy within Qlik to do just that. And we'll show you guys towards the end of the presentation here just a little bit more around how easy it is to build out something like this within Qlik and get started connecting to different sources. But in the meantime, I want to show you how easy it is right now just to maybe change up a couple of visualizations on the fly. So all you have to do here is actually we'll jump into our edit mode. And perhaps there's a couple of things I'd like to change on here. So perhaps down here in the bottom left around which department has the most pipeline, I'd like to see this in not a donut, but maybe just in a pie chart, right? I can open up here on the left our charting options, and what I'm going to do is just drag and drop the pie chart over on top of the donut chart. And then I'm just going to simply replace with pie chart. Now what it's going to prompt me to do is dive into the dimensions a little bit more around this. So I have really the ability here, if I know my data, to kind of dive into a little bit more around exactly, what I'd like to pick. Maybe there's different fields that I'd like to work off of. Right? We'll have that capability to do that within Qlik. And from a governance and security standpoint, you can always, make sure you're kind of locked down on that, right? So that's an important piece. But also as well, maybe I want to change this this tree chart up a little bit here. I can, again, simply just drag and drop, and I want to look at this in a pie chart format, and I'm just going to convert it to a pie chart, right? Easy enough. I didn't write any script. I didn't have to write any code around that. And automatically, it's going to update this for me into a pie chart. And again, I can kind of change this around as I'd like to. If I want to look at something like the presentation piece, I can drop down here to the colors, and maybe I want to look at a different coloring scheme for this, reverse colors. There's a whole host of things you can do here on the right. And I'm not going to dive into that now, but this just kind of shows the customization capabilities within Qlik and how you can kind of work to make it your own or make it the firm's own based upon what you would like. So I'll just hit done here. And again, as you see, all my updates really take shape here within just the quick development that I did. So now, once again, I'm kind of back in my mode of diving deeper into analysis. And what you see here is I'm actually drilling down. So I started up at the billing attorney department, and now I'm diving into specific billing attorneys. So now maybe I want to look at Michael Gilbert here and just continue my work. Now, this is a drill down setup. So what I've been able to do here is give the ability to just go all the way down to potentially to client name and even matter name. So it looks like Crooks, Murphy & Bear is one of my largest clients with Michael Gilbert. And now I'm all the way down to our client name. Again, our selections are being taken care of up top here, and everything looks good. So I just wanted to point that out as well. That's how easy it is just to kind of do a self-service visualization, change it up on your own, and continue to do your analysis. One piece I did want to point out as well in terms of just some of the capabilities of Qlik and how you can actually present data, is that we know and what we see is with a lot of our customers is there's a transition that needs to take place from how things are done now, and it could be Excel, it could be through SSRS reporting, it could be through something like business objects or a legacy system within your organization, but there's always going to be a need for continued use of a tabular format, or you just want to start to phase people into a more visual analytics world. So you can still do all of that within Qlik, and I'll just cross out of my selections there. But this is just a simple sheet that we built out within this application. It's very tabular and very similar to the look and feel of something like Excel. And it has all the search capabilities that we know and love from our global search across the application directly in this table as well. So if I wanted to just search on just a quick matter number, perhaps we'll look at this, maybe I wanted to search on this one here. Maybe not the best matter to work off of, as there's been no billing or anything around that, but I think, it just kind of shows to that point that we can search off of anything here. So again, we've shown Elizabeth Mills here quite a bit. I can search on her directly here. And then maybe as well, I want to take another snapshot of this data to build my story out for my Monday morning meeting with Elizabeth, to talk to her a little bit more about some of the fee realizations that she's had versus the fees generated. So that's just a little bit more around that. And if you'd like to is, within a platform like QlikSense, it is very much, you want to keep the data within the platform, from that governance standpoint. But if you want to give access to certain individuals, you still have the ability to export the underlying data out from any of your objects, within the application. So I can certainly do this here and export it to Excel, and that'll just allow me to open it up. And then you can also, as well, if you'd like to. So let's say we pop back to a different sheet here, and maybe I wanted to right-click and export this to PDF. I can do the same thing as well. So it gives you the flexibility to author things out or just export things out into different formats, as you see fit. And then finally, as well, as I just wanted to touch on as we were in the tabular space as well, is that obviously pivot tables are a very common way to deliver data, whether it's in Excel or wherever, and Qlik gives you that capability as well to do so with that drag and drop methodology and development. So again, as you see here, I can, I have everything rolling through matter number right now, so I can continue to do drill down just as I would in a particular pivot table, but maybe I want to spin here to just billing attorney on Elizabeth Mills, and then I'll dive into her information a little bit more. Maybe I just remove her selection here and kind of author up my own analysis here on some other attorneys within the firm. So again, something like this, and this entire application was built out for a proof of concept with another firm, and it was done so relatively quickly. I believe, within a couple of weeks, working off of their data, this was able to be pushed out. And, we've worked with other firms as well, just to kind of put it in a timing perspective. Obviously everything looks great, but at the end of the day, you still need the capability to have a quick ROI, some quick wins, and some speed to value. So we've worked with firms as well that have had teams where there's only a couple of people that are working on the development and working within the data, and they've gotten production ready, up and running within 6 to 8 weeks, and have done some excellent stuff from there in terms of expanding out to different use cases. So that just gives you a little bit of a feel for a typical timeline for something to be built out. Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and interrupt real quick. We've got some questions around data sources that I'd like to address. Someone is asking, they have a lead. Can we connect to a lead? I do believe, this is Megan, that this actual demo was created with data from Elite as well as several other data sources. But Kenny, can you just jump in and talk about the flexibility real quick of Qlik, and maybe this is a question for Sham, in terms of connection to data sources and the flexibility we have there?
Yep, certainly. So that is a great question, and yes, this application actually was built out with Elite Data and a couple of other sources within that firm as well. but obviously we've scrubbed the data that's on here, so it's not looking back on that firm's data at all for you guys. But yes, I mean, again, that ability to be data agnostic and Qlik can go out and grab data wherever you see fit within your firm that you'd like to analyze, and then associate that data and handle the data integration within the platform. So Elite, adherence, relativity, InTap, and pretty much any other source that's out there. A lot of the guys in tech like to say that there's no data source that Qlik doesn't like or can't connect to. So we almost love to challenge any prospects and customers to be able to, for their most complex data needs, is to go out there and work on that data and see what we can come up with to kind of test the platform. So I hope that answers that question a little bit, and we'll show you guys just how easy it is here in a few minutes to get started with connecting to multiple data sources and not even having to write a single line of code to do so. Is there any other questions, Megan, that you wanted me to touch on here?
I think we're all set. That was fantastic.
Okay, great. So this is a little bit more as well, as we do have a very good mapping layer as well, and a geoanalytics layer as well. For if that's something of interest, we can dive into that on another conversation as well. It's a very powerful piece to the platform. So I just want to touch on collaboration here and sharing of the data throughout your organization, and we kind of showed it a little bit in those snapshots, and I was trying to build up a little bit with that. But what we'll do now is we're actually going to build out a story, right? A story around Elizabeth Mills and some of the key data points that we've uncovered with her as we've done some more analysis. So there's a couple key areas within collaboration. So let's quickly again go back to our global search, and I just want to pull up Elizabeth Mills. So we'll grab her. All right, so now we've made our selection with Elizabeth Mills, and maybe to make things easier, and you can draw this out to as many selections as you like, but maybe you have to hop to another meeting and you want to continue your analysis. It's very easy within Qlik to just create a bookmark, much as you would on a web page. So we'll say just emails here. Created that bookmark, it dates it for me. Right, and now I clear out my selections just to kind of prove it out. And now I can just hop back in here. Maybe if I closed out of my session and I want to jump right back to my selections, I can do that. I also have, I guess, another bookmark in here for a default search, and this is more around just billing attorneys. But again, very powerful stuff in terms of collaboration for us to work off of. So again, looking at Elizabeth, we've taken a couple of the snapshots, if you guys remember, as we walk through the story here. And now I want to create my own story. So this is a very PowerPoint-like look and feel, but it's also going to allow you to do all of this directly within Qlik. Right? So you don't have to worry about necessarily doing PowerPoint sometimes. So for those of you who don't like PowerPoint, this is going to be perfect for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new story, and we'll just call this again. I'm just going to call it emails for Elizabeth Mills. And then I'm just going to hop in here. And as you see, blank template. On the right here, we have different attributes that we can add to our story. So I'm going to click on our snapshot library here, and I'm just going to pull in the 3 snapshots that we took from earlier. So I'll pull in all 3 here. And I'm just going to do this quickly. So let's more, table's very large. All right, so I've just pulled in a few different data points here, a few different snapshots. And then maybe I want to add some commentary here, so I can add a title. Elizabeth Mills. And then maybe I want to add just a quick commentary in here. Then you can just say green folder is tops. Just quickly here, and then this is, we can always add in here quick. Oh, I guess I can't do it to these, so we'll leave that be. But there's a host of other things you can pull in images here as well and customize it to your needs. So this is just built out off of one sheet, right? But if I wanted to use this as my presentation layer and build this out for a weekly, monthly, quarterly meetings, or however, on the fly meetings, right? Now I'm just hit play here, and it's, again, this is the presentation layer that we have. So we're looking at our snapshots. These are taken as a point in time. And then maybe during this conversation, with Elizabeth, talking to our data, she's kind of concerned as to why maybe the data looks the way it is here. She's questioning it. You can simply just right-click on this and go to source, and that's going to jump us right back into that sheet where we actually took that snapshot. Now, this would be all live data based upon how you wanted to refresh your data within your firm. But now we can even do, deeper analysis. Maybe we wanted to dive into Greenfeller a little bit more. Maybe we wanted to look at these particular dates, right? All this on the fly, continuing our questioning of the data and getting answers from our data and doing data discovery. And now maybe she's, content with what we found out, and we can just hop right back into our presentation, right, and move on from there. So you can do that, and then you can also as well, what's great is, we can embed entire sheets from our application directly in here. So now if we hop back into this particular piece here, what we're looking at is an actual live sheet embedded into that storytelling presentation layer. So now I can actually do analytics and make selections right in my presentation layer. Right? So I don't even have to worry about jumping back to the source. I can, if I'd like to up here, I can reset my selections. But for the most part, you're not going to need that from that standpoint. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of those key collaboration pieces as well. And then, if you need to within those, you can export to PowerPoint, you can export to PDF, no problem if somebody's interested in seeing that in that type of format or printing it out, what have you. So just a couple of key areas there that I just wanted to touch on prior to wrapping up my portion of the demo. So I hope that was informative. Yeah.
Kenny, this is Megan. So before you go ahead and hand it off to Sham, I do want to jump into just a couple more questions, and I appreciate that everyone is asking so many questions today. I have one question that is, can we email any of the reports created in Qlik or schedule them to be emailed? Can you speak a little to that in regards to end printing?
Of course, yes. That's a great question. So we have, as a part of our platform, we have a module called Qlik N Printing. And what N Printing allows you to do is schedule and distribute to pretty much larger audiences, different reports, or even just key objects that you've created and developed within Qlik Sense. So, for example, I could take the data from this and export it out into PDF to a larger audience. I could embed it in an email with a link as well, directing you back to your Qlik Sense hub, where that's a majority of your work will be done. And then also as well is, working within Microsoft Excel and pushing out reports in Excel or Office or PowerPoint. You name it, it allows you to handle that as well. And we still see that it definitely is a common need because we know that there are folks in the firm that will probably, won't necessarily need to dive into their data all that much, and they may just need quick snapshots within a PDF or embedded into an email, and then they can always jump back into their into an application like this within the Qlik Sense hub. So that's certainly a capability that that we see with many firms they actually need, which is good that we have that capability.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is there any other questions?
I do have one last question, and I know that this may be something that we want to go into depth more with offline. But if you just speak too quickly, I do have someone asking what the differences are between Qlik View and Qlik Sense.
That is a great question. One of my favorite questions. So Qlik View, if you remember back to just the overall introduction of Qlik at the beginning of the call, is Qlik View is our flagship product and platform. So Qlik View was created in 1993. It's an underlying platform that handles that data connection from disparate sources, is really the foundation of Qlik overall as a technology and as our company. But really what Qlik View was used for was allowing for power users that really understood the data and could handle, working within SQL or having that type of skill set. They would be the ones that would be delivering out the actual applications back to different areas of the business. And with Qlik Sense, it is built off of the same underlying technology, so it still gives you that data integration, that ETL capability. But what it does is allows for more opportunities and new use cases around self-service analytics. So I showed you guys the capability of just a quick drag and drop. The front end is a little bit sleeker, a little more intuitive. The mobility aspect of it is much stronger within Qlik Sense, so that responsive design that I showed is key and paramount here as well. But then Qlik Sense is also very open and modern from the standpoint of being able to leverage the Qlik Sense APIs and also to extend out and leverage, you know, the API community, but also as well as to embed something like this much more easily into your SharePoint portal or something like that. So we see within many of our current customers that QlikView and Qlik Sense are being leveraged for different use cases, and they're very complementary. But Qlik Sense has kind of taken shape as the ability to handle a few different other use cases that perhaps QlikView couldn't handle or just needed a little bit more on the back-end development to handle, where Qlik Sense kind of covers all of those. I hope that helps.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm conscious of time. Should we pass it along to Shyam?
Yes, I think that would be a great idea. So what we'll do, folks, is I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Shyam Tiwari, solution architect that has worked closely with me and worked closely with a variety of firms actually up in the New York City area. He's just going to show you guys how easy it is to connect to two different data sources, a couple different data sources, and really all the drag and drop methodology. We'll dive into that a little bit more. So we just wanted to get you guys comfortable with, hey, you know, this all looks great, but how do we get there, right? What's that first step? So we'll go into that a little bit more here. So Shyam, let me just turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you,
and you're on your way. Yep, thank you.
All right. So I just want to make sure everybody is able to hear me fine and you guys can see my screen.
Absolutely, Shyam.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Megan. All right. So as Kenny described, my role with Qlik is to architect solutions. I'm a product evangelist, and I work in the New York City area. I support Kenny on a lot of his accounts, and together we've worked across a lot of law firms in the area. Kenny did an excellent product demonstration. I want to tail it off by showing you how easy it is to build out applications within Qlik Sense. And the reason that we are showing you this piece of the demo is because we want to show you how fast you can start building applications with Qlik and start getting insights out. And to do that, I'm gonna present to you a different business case. Today we're going to look at how people across the country eat pizza, right? So that is something very good for a Friday afternoon. Hopefully everybody will enjoy this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on this application, which is similar to what you saw Kenny doing before. But this application doesn't have any data in it. So what's going to happen here is I'm not going to see anything. So the first step really for me when I start building out an application is bringing in the data. To bring in the data, I'm going to click on the menu button, click on Add Data, and as soon as I do that, I'll see an Add Data pop up. Now, I have a few different options here to add the data, and this is where Qlik's governing features come into place. You could govern which connections application designers have access to. You could enable them to have connections to create their own connections from scratch. There was a question before about what are the different sources that you can connect to. These are some of the different sources that you can connect to, but you can build any ODBC source to connect to pretty much any database and any data source that you have. You can use OilyDB, or we ship a generic REST connector as well, which covers a wide variety of use cases and any kind of data source that you can imagine. And then we have Data Market, which is data that Qlik provides as a service. So this is curated data that we provide to you as a service. So for today's demo, I'm gonna go back to connections, and I'm gonna connect to a couple of different sources. So the first source that I'm gonna use today is going to be data from Excel. So I'll just click on data from Excel, and it takes me to a location on my computer. And I'm going to select the Excel file that I'm interested in bringing over. So I just click on the Excel file. I go to next, and I have 3 tabs of data in this Excel file. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to check all the 3 tabs so that I bring them in. But as somebody who is designing the application, I have complete control over what data I'm bringing in. So I could, for example, unselect state if I wanted to, or as well as how I'm bringing in the data. So if I wanted to change this column name to regions instead of region, I could do that as well. But I'm not going to make any changes. I'm simply going to load the data in. Now that my first source of data is in, I'm going to go ahead and bring in data from another source. So I'll repeat the same process. So I'm going to click on menu again and then add data. And in this case, instead of going to an Excel sheet, I'm going to connect to a warehouse. So I'll click on connecting to a warehouse. And then I'll select the database I'm interested in, the user that I'm going to log into that database. And for that combination, it shows me all the tables that I have access to. So in this case, I just have access to one table. I'm going to check that box. I'm going to bring in all the fields from this particular table. But instead of simply loading the data in, what I'll do is I'll prepare the data first. Now, the reason I'm preparing the data is because I want to see how my data sources actually relate to each other, right? Without really understanding the relation or association, as we call it, I don't want to bring the data in. So if you remember, these are the 3 tables that we brought in. So these are 3 nice bubbles. And then this is a new table that I'm trying to bring in. Now I want to see how this new table, the data in this new table rather, relates to my existing data. So what I'll do is I'll click on the new table, which is census, and then take it over these different tables, right? And you can see that it's showing me 2 of the bubbles in green, which means that there's a very good relation that exists between these 2 tables and the new table I'm trying to bring in. But when I go to toppings, there isn't such a great relationship. It's fine because this is an associative model. What I'm going to do is use one of these tables as a joining element to bring in the new table. And to do that, all I need to do is drag and drop census on top of state codes. Now you can see that it's used these 2 different fields to make the association. These are the different recommendations. I can accept them, or I can create my own custom association as well. But essentially what Qlik has done is it scanned the entire data that is contained within both the tables, and then based on the data parity, it's provided me with recommendations. I'm going to accept those recommendations, go ahead and load the data, and you'll see that within a second, it creates a composite data model that consists of tables from 2 different sources. Now that our data model is ready, let's go ahead and start gaining some insights into our data. So I'm going to go back and then click on my new sheet. This brings me to an empty template where I can build my sheet, but this is a view-only mode. So I'm going to go into the edit mode. I click on edit, and now I can start gaining insights. I could start answering questions. So the first thing that I really want to understand is what state consumes the most amount of pizza. So I'm going to click on charts here, and then I could use any of these charts to look at this insight. I'm going to simply use a bar chart here. And if I want to use a bar chart, I don't need to write any code. I don't need to do anything. Just simply drag and drop it here. So I drag and drop bar chart from the left to the sheet area. And now what I'll do is I'll add a dimension and a measure. Now dimension is something that provides reference to the values that I'm looking for. In this case, we want to look at pizza consumption by state. So state would be my dimension. So I click on state. And then we want to look at pizza consumption. So we want to build a measure that actually measures pizza consumption, right? So I'll click on add measure. And here I can see a lot of different options. Now there might be different ways to measure pizza consumption. For today's demo, I'm just going to base it on sales. So I click on sales and then apply a function to it. And boom, within a second, you've built out a graph that shows you pizza consumption for different states. Right away, you can see that California consumes the most amount of pizza. Now let me create another visualization over here, which will give some context to the data that we have. So now I'm going to look at what kind of toppings people consume in all over the country and in different states. To do that, I'm going to drag and drop pie chart here and then follow the same process by which we created the bar chart. I'm going to click on add dimension. And in this case, we are trying to analyze toppings. So I'll just search for toppings. And notice that whenever I'm doing anything in Qlik, I'm always searching for things, right? So search capability is everywhere in the Qlik platform. Again, I'm going to add measure and then base it on the same measure that we used before. And then click on done. Now my sheet is in a consumption mode. As you can see, predictably, pepperoni is the most popular topping across the country. But what if I select California? Does this data really change? It doesn't. It becomes more, it does actually. So you can see that people in California now consume more mushrooms. Does it change across the top 3 states? It does. So pepperoni is back at the top. So you can see that within a few seconds, you've built out 2 charts that are completely interactive that let you drill from either direction as well as look and search for data. Then I can move this bucket around. So that's how you create applications within Qlik Sense. It's an extremely powerful platform, but it's also very, very easy to get started with it. So that's all I had for my part of the demo. I'll pause for any questions that you may have.
Sure. This is Megan again, and now I know that this question, fairly straightforward to ask, but we can provide more information offline for this or any other questions people might have. One thing I do want to hit on, because we have not today, is how can we secure who can see what in our applications? Can you talk a little bit about security within Qlik Sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. The challenge that a lot of organizations face. So in Qlik, you can introduce row-level security by this concept called section access. And section access is a virtual table that sits on top of any application. And as soon as the user authenticates themselves, we will filter out the application to show them only the data that they have access to. So for example, a regional director logs in, they would only be able to see data for California and Washington and Arizona, maybe because they belong to the West region. Similarly, if a regional director from the East Coast logs in, they would see data from New York and Pennsylvania, etc. So that would be something, pre-authorization that could be done before anything in the application is presented to the user.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Kenny, do you have anything else to add before we conclude today?
No, that's it. I just appreciate everyone hopping on and taking a look at Qlik Sense and hearing a little bit more about what we have to offer. And I'll just leave everyone with, take what you saw today. If it's something that you think you'd be interested in taking a further look at, Shyam and myself, as well as anyone else here at Qlik, are more than happy to learn more about your use case and how you guys think you may want to be able to use your data. And as I mentioned, it's a very flexible platform, and we can really tackle any data challenge that you guys are facing right now. I showed just a demo on finance data and the like, but there's so much more to do within Qlik. So I challenge every one of you to maybe think of something, a particular use case, to see how Qlik could be a fit within the organization.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Kenny. And again, thank you everyone for joining today. I appreciate your time. We did record this session, so once we clean up that recording, we'll go ahead and send it out to you in case you want to share with any of your peers. If you have further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. We can answer anything you might have in further detail and follow-up demos. We're happy to do a one-on-one with you and explore, take a deeper dive, go further into the features that you were interested in today. We didn't cover, we were just the tip of the iceberg. So like I said, we're happy to go into it further, and I will follow up with all of you shortly. Again, thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend.